conclusion, on January 20th, the United States will turn the page forever on. The people have given us their trust, and in return, we're going to give them the best day one, the biggest first week, and the most extraordinary first 100 days of any president in American history.
The formal US presidential transition is expected to fall on the 20th January and Trump will be inaugurated. But the stock market is already reacting to the election results and the potential impact of Trump's cabinet selections and his upcoming policies. In this video, we'll dive into the post-election updates and highlight the key policies, appointments, and the trends that investors and traders need to watch closely. Hi, I'm Kathlyn. I'm the founder and chief trainer of Beyond Insights. We have been in existence for 16 years, focusing on educating people properly on how to invest and trade in the stock market in a systematic, versatile, and safe manner. Trump's comeback to the White House is set to shake things out, especially for the economy and financial markets. As an investor and active trader, it's important to stay on top of these changes to navigate the shifting landscape. Traditionally, what do you need to look out for after a new president is elected? Number one, the most important is his policy priorities because that can move the market, especially his first 100 days agenda. Secondly, is his cabinet and key appointments because that has an implication on the policies moving forward. So first of all, let's take a look at Trump's policy that has an immediate market impact. One of the biggest decisions so far is Trump's proposal on international trade policies, right? He has announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on all imports from Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. And this is in addition to what he announced earlier, right, before his election, which is on 60% on China goods and 10% for the rest of the world. Why Mexico and Canada, and why China, right? Why is he picking on these three countries specifically? Right? One of the reasons is because this Mexico and Canada is actually a loophole for Chinese companies as a reroute to US, right? So because Trump is imposing a big tariff on China, which is 60% in the past, plus 10%, that's 70%, a huge tariff, right? So Chinese companies are smart, right? So they decided to open up factories in Mexico and Canada and to sell it back to US so that the tariff is lesser, which is 10%. And Trump committee knew about it and he wanted to close some of these loopholes. However, this could be just one of his negotiation tactics, yeah, where you always set the bar higher first, then you can agree on middle ground. Like, let's see what happened later on. While certain US industries might benefit from reduced competition, the broader market may experience some volatility due to disruption of the global supply chain and also potential retaliation tariffs from these countries that he imposed tariff. For example, China is hitting hard on Nvidia right now, okay? So the sector that will be hit hardest in terms of this supply chain disruption will be on the manufacturing intensive industry like the EV as well as the semiconductor. And that's why you are seeing that some of these stocks in these industries, they are not moving anywhere. They are not too bearish, but it's more or less sideways, with the exception of Tesla, right? Because of Elon Musk having a special favor by Trump and also benefited a lot from the new policies, right? So I'm not talking about Tesla in specific, but EV in general, as well as semiconductor. So next major policy is about the deportation of immigrants aimed at addressing issues such as illegal immigration and also drug trafficking. So which sector do you think will be impacted as a result of this? The first one is construction, right? As in Malaysia as well, you can see many construction companies use foreign workers and some could be illegal. The other part is the home builder, right? So you can see a lot of home builder stocks are breaking key support like LEN, KB Home and DHI. They have been breaking strong support as a result of this policy. Okay. For the tech sector, it's not so much, although in the past, he may want to be more stringent in the foreign visa for foreign tech talent, but he has not announced anything so far on this skilled workers, right? And the third, which is also very important, is on the tax legislation. Trump aimed to extend the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which is set to expire next year, potentially adding about $4 trillion to the national debt over a decade, because tax is actually a very significant income, right, to any government. You can see here, this is the federal budget for the year 2023. On the left-hand side, you can see the total revenue, and the right-hand side is the total spending for the US government. You can see that the biggest income for the US government is actually the individual income tax, right? Followed by the payroll tax, then only the corporate income tax. So you can see that cutting income tax for the corporate may not have a very significant impact to the overall revenue, but it is also important, right? Just the relative amount may not be as high. However, Trump is saying that all these tariffs that he imposed on China and the rest of the world can help offset this reduction of the revenue from this corporate income tax extension, right? And we will see in the past, US did receive significant amount from the tariff to offset some of this reduction in income tax, but not enough. Right? I can see here, US already have a significant deficit, and with the interest rate has been high for a few years, this is actually going to be even more significant to the net interest that US need to pay. But the good news is this, right? He has appointed Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to reduce the spending for the US government, right? And hopefully they can trim a lot more on the right-hand side, and that will help to reduce the US deficit as well, right? So this is more from the overall US revenue and spending impact. Let's take a look what is the market impact. Let's go back to the previous cycle where Trump was elected, when he first started to impose this tax cut for the very first time. That was in 2017. Let's see how is the market impact here. Trump was elected over here, end of November 2016. You can see the stock jump significantly. This is XLF, which represents the finance sector ETF. Right? There are two benefits from the finance sector. One is deregulation. Right? The second one is on a tax cut. So you can see the stock actually, this sector actually surged 51% at that time. Like 51%. Is that significant? Yeah, very significant. But let's look at current chart. Right? Current chart for finance ETF is not as significant after the election. Right? It did went up from here. If you look at the prior to election to after election, it went up as high as 11% within a very short time. But now it has come back to square one, right? Which is close to this EMA 50. But let's look at the earlier chart here. Around August, when people know that Trump may be having a high chance to win, and also around this period, you can see the finance ticker is going higher already in anticipation for the win. So market move in anticipation. So when the actual is in and the market is stretched, then it may correct. One of the reasons for this downside here, I don't think it's going to be like significantly down, right? This could be just a pullback, right? We will need to monitor whether the stock can sustain above this level, because there's a rotation going in back into the tech stock due to some appointments of the cabinet, which I will share with you later. Let's look at the next policy, which is related to energy and environmental aspect. Trump actually wanted to reverse existing climate policies, right? And this has been his stance since his previous election. He's not so pro-clean energy. And this policy that he has will promote more fossil fuel production, which is good for oil and gas industry. During his last presidency, President-elect Donald Trump rolled back about 100 environmental policies, and he weakened the limits on carbon emission. Right, that's not good for pollution. However, he thinks that it's too stringent for EV so far. Right, from power plants as well as car and trucks, he removed the protection and pollution control, so which is deemed as more business friendly. Right, all the way from streams and wetlands, and also he weakened the Endangered Species Act. So, what do you think will benefit or have negative impact to this? Right, yeah, we may think that it will be bad for all the clean industry. However, right, one of the favorite stocks for a lot of people on the clean industry, which is Tesla, actually was very bullish after Trump's election. Like, let's look at the chart here. Right, we have Tesla break out from the key resistance for a long time after Trump was elected. So you can see it's very bullish, and it has been going up even further right now. Look at where it was before election until now. It's gone up 90% within a month. Isn't it amazing? So some people say, is it too stretched? Okay, I do think that it is stretched right now, but it's still, the momentum, it is still there, right? So I want to advise you to get in at this point, right? Because it is stretch level. If you're good at trend trading, right, then you can do that, or intraday trading, but not a right level for investment entry. But let's look at what are the main reasons for this, right? Why is it counterintuitive? The first one is, of course, being a strong Trump ally. He will be having an advantage to influence Trump on policies in favor of the companies that he's managing. One of the latest policy that was being influenced is this. Trump team wants to scrap car crash reporting rule that Tesla has been opposing for many, many years, because he feels that that type of reporting was not showing a balanced image for Tesla, right? It seems to be more hitting on Tesla rather than the overall car industry as a whole. Okay. The other big part is about deregulation. Deregulation definitely will benefit EV industry as well as the SpaceX as well, right? Because there's a lot of controls on that, and robotics, which is what Elon Musk is working on next as well. So in this next section, we're going to talk about the key cabinet picks for Trump and the specific sector impact. One of the important appointments that Trump has selected is the Treasury Secretary, and this is the White House top financial job, and it oversees the IRS, banking regulation, and it manages the nation's 36 trillion national debt. So do you think this role is important? And the person that's been appointed is Scott Bresson, right? He's the founder of Key Square Group, which has established a global macro investment firm, very knowledgeable in hedge fund management. And he's the former CIO, Chief Investment Officer for George Soros. He has helped engineer a short against the British pound, the famous British pound short in the 1992, which almost got the Bank of England to be bankrupt, right? Netting George Soros a profit of more than $1 billion, right? So that shows that he really understands how the finance world works, right? So let's look at Scott Bresson's view on policies, right? He emphasized that tariff should be used as a negotiation tool to get better trade deals from other nations without actually imposing them. So this is actually a hint. Means all these big tariff that Trump has announced, like 60% on China and additional 10% after that, on the rest of the world 10%, then he add on 25% to Mexico and Canada. So do you think he really going to implement that high a figure, right? Because it has significant implication to the inflation in the US as well, and to the supply chain as a whole. So from this hint here, we can see that this could be just a negotiation technique, and they could actually meet somewhere halfway or not the extreme levels, right? That helps ease some of the fears among investors that Trump will impose this, tough tariff, right? Economists widely believe that tariff can increase inflation and damage the economy, as merchants may pass on the higher cost to consumer. So in the recent months, you can see that US inflation is actually at a plateau level and slightly up, right? So we are actually at a point where it's a tipping point on whether it will continue to surge back again with all these new policies in place, or it can actually go down, right? So, and if it doesn't go down, then the Fed may not cut rates at an aggressive level. That may slow down the US economy as well, right? So, Bresson has advocated for cutting taxes and reducing government spending and regulation, standard conservative position that Trump said he would pursue. So this can actually offset the cutting tax can potentially offset some of the impact from the tariff, but it will also increase inflation. Let's look at this very important new appointment from Trump, which is the FTC chair, right? Andrew Ferguson. Andrew Ferguson has been nominated to succeed Lina Khan as the FTC chair. This is a very, very significant appointment. Let me share with you what it means here, right? Ferguson is recognized for his opposition to Lina Khan's stringent regulatory stance on big tech. So this may benefit big tech such as Google and Meta, as well as Apple and Microsoft as well. Yeah, because Lina has been hitting on all these big tech, and you have a lot of antitrust issues on that, like a monopolistic behavior, right? That's what we mean by antitrust. Investors anticipate that Ferguson's leadership will result in a more lenient regulatory environment for tech companies. This is where I witnessed a shift, right? Some of the tech stock has been holding back, where the finance stock and the discretionary stocks, like including airline, has been rallying after Trump election. But the big tech was holding back because of the worry about a lot of antitrust issues lately, right? But as a result of this appointment, it relieves some of the fear, and I can see rotation back into these magnificent 7 stocks. Let's take a look at the impact to Google and Meta as a result of this appointment here. Let me show you the news first. This news is on 12th of December, right? Which shows here the youngest ever FTC chair, which is Lina Khan, is leaving, and what will happen to her big tech probes. And at the bottom here, it shows that Donald Trump has announced that he will replace him with Andrew Ferguson. Let's look at Google in specific first, right? On this day of the announcement here, Google actually rallied significantly, right? However, there's also one additional news for Google, which is Google unveiled the mind-boggling quantum computing chip on the 10th of December. So you can see the rally happening earlier on the 10th of December. But the next day is when this second news came in. And let's look at the QQQ in general, right? If you look at the QQQ, on the December 11th and 12th as well, you can see that even though it's already quite stretched, it continued to go up, right? It's because it generally benefit the big tech. All right, let's look at the next appointment here, which is on US Department of Health and Human Services. The mission of HHS is to enhance the health and well-being of all Americans. This Health and Human Services Secretary nominated by Trump is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
We have the highest chronic disease burden of any nation in the world, and we got to get Americans healthier.
So what does it imply? Right, every person that's appointed, we need to understand what is his stance before the appointment, right? Healthcare sector actually has recently experienced some significant decline, right? Coincide with President Donald Trump nomination of Robert Kennedy as a Secretary of HHS. But what is the reason? Because Kennedy has been one of the nation's most prominent anti-vaccine conspiracy theorists for years. He has frequently spread false conspiracy theories about the safety and efficacy of vaccines. So do you think it's good or bad for vaccine company? Right, of course it's bad, right? So this caused vaccine stock to fall, especially Pfizer and mRNA. So let's look at Pfizer's stock chart. I can see from this appointment here, right, can see the stock continue to fall for the next 2 days. However, stock move based on anticipation of this. Before even announced, people are anticipating that it will not be good for pharmaceutical as well as a biotechnology company. So it has been falling before that, right? It couldn't go above the resistance of 30 for a while. The other reason is, of course, we have been after pandemic for so long, the demand for vaccine is actually slowing down, right? So we don't expect the same demand as before. Look at the jump from 2020, when the vaccine demand is high. After that, it has been slowing down. So it's not purely because of this, but this intensify the downside. Right? Same for the IBB, which is a biotech. It's also declining a lot as a result of this policy. Now, let's take a look at another very, very significant appointment, which is the SEC Commissioner, Paul Atkins. Before we talk about Paul Atkins, do you know who is the former SEC chairman? Right? His name is Gary Gensler. Or we can say that he's still the chairman, but he has tendered his resignation and will step down on 20th January. And this date coincides with Donald Trump's inauguration date. So previously, Gensler has expressed concern about potential for fraud and manipulation with crypto markets. So he's actually against crypto. He likened them to the wild, wild west. And this is also for investor protection. Under Gensler, the SEC ramped up enforcement action against crypto exchanges. So it's harder for crypto coins to be actually listed or new exchanges to be approved. He accused them for selling unregistered securities. So SEC has pursued numerous enforcement action against crypto entities for alleged violations, including filing a lawsuit against Ripple Labs, which is XRP, and it alleged that XRP was sold as an unregistered security. So XRP has been going sideways for a long time. And when he announced his resignation from the SEC, XRP gained more than 100% in 10 days. Let's take a look at the chart for XRP here. So you can see for many years, due to the SEC chair was not in favor of crypto, you can see it goes sideways range for a long time. But the moment, let's look at the first Trump election, right? So it can start to have a trend reversal here. But the most significant part is here, which is SEC chair resignation. And there was a big move over here, all the way, which is 160% from that date until just about 2 weeks. Isn't that significant? So let's take a look at a quick background of Atkins. Paul Atkins is an American attorney and businessman with extensive experience in financial regulation and security laws. He has been nominated by President Donald Trump to serve as chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, a position he previously held from 2002 to 2008. So he has experience as an SEC chair, right? That gives him the credibility. Paul Atkins actually is an advocate for lighter regulatory approach, and he emphasized on market efficiency. So for years, Atkins had made it clear that he favors clearer regulations on cryptocurrency that don't stifle innovation or impose unnecessary oversight. He also said previously that the SEC aggressive approach to the industry could drive some firms to seek home outside of the US, right? Which they can still survive outside of the US, but that's not good for US taking the leadership in the financial industry. Atkins is also known for his favorable view of digital or crypto assets, and his leadership could lead to more accommodating environment for cryptocurrency. This may result in clearer guidelines and potentially fewer enforcement actions against the crypto firms, influencing investment opportunity in the digital asset because people will feel more free to invest as well. And this will be beneficial to US listed crypto exchange like Coinbase. And lastly, according to Yahoo Finance, the change at the top of the SEC is the latest of several signs that cryptocurrency is in position to become a key focus for the new administration once it takes office in 2025. And let's look at the Bitcoin overall. When Trump won the election, Bitcoin actually surged above the range, the previous range here, which it was range bound for quite a while, right? Range bound for quite a while. But with Trump election, it actually surged because he's having policy in favor of cryptocurrency. And it has rallied a lot. After that, we have the SEC chair appointment here, right? But because of the strong rally here, it did not rally significantly higher, right? There is some movement upside for the next 2 days, then it went range bound. Then we have the new SEC chair nomination here, right? So it was waiting sideways for breakout because it's already very extended. That's the reason it did not rally further, right? Due to this, it started rallying around 60,000 points, and now it was hovering around here. So people are waiting to see whether it can break out sustainably. And this is where Trump confirmed Bitcoin reserve plans news came out, and it caused it to stay above 100,000. So this is the news on Trump confirmed Bitcoin reserve plans, and it caused a 15 trillion price boom prediction. This is another news, which is a Bitcoin reached new high after Trump's pledge to create a new reserve. How far it can move, it depends on the subsequent move around this area, and because this actually include purchases from the government, and with more of this news coming in as support, it may be able to sustain around 100,000. But you need to have proper risk management in place and do not go in all short. You need to make sure that you have proper portfolio allocation, right? But this is actually one of the significant news that caused it to stay above 100,000 points. So after looking at these 4 candidates nominated by Trump, what do you think of his administration's direction? And what could be the opportunity and risk lying ahead? These candidates nominated by Trump are yet to be confirmed by the US Senate. But because he controls the House, most likely it can get approved much more easier. And typically it begins after the presidential inauguration on January 20th. And knowing Trump, he acts very fast, right? So it's not like other presidents where they may take their time, right, to implement policies. Trump acts very, very fast. So it's very, very important for you to look at all the appointment, right? The market move based on all these announcements and not when they are actually on board. Okay? Of course, when they're actually on board, you also need to look at what are the actual policies details that they will be implementing, that because there could be some variations, and you always need to be prepared for potential adjustment or changes along the way, right? Because the trade union and so on, and all those manufacturers that may have an impact on all these tariffs will negotiate with them, right? Including the repatriation for the illegal immigrant as well will have an impact at not just the illegal immigrant, but also the legal immigrant will have an impact to many industries in the US. So after all the negotiation, the actual policy could be different from original, including the tariff percentage. So if you're interested to understand more about the macro, the big picture impact, for example, the monetary and fiscal policy, the geopolitical tension, impact to the stock market, and also the industry mega trend, right? The macro condition actually impact 40% of the stock price movement, and the mega trend and the industry impact 30% of the stock move, left only 30%, which is company specific. So don't you think understanding the macro and the mega trend and industry impact is also very important, right? If you agree with this, right, do join us at the next BI Symposium, right, Beyond Insight Symposium on the 18th of January. It's a full day event, and you can click on the link here to register, and it will be a full day time well spent, right? Within 1 day, you will concise and save you significant amount of time to understand the big picture that impact the overall stock market and the financial market at large. Save you tremendous time, and for you to look forward to the opportunities ahead and what are the risks to manage, and I hope to see you there. If you find this analysis insightful, do give us a like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel and turn on to notification bell icon, because next month we are going to cover Tesla earnings live on YouTube, one of the hot stock in the market. And are you looking forward to that, right? I'm sure you do not want to miss this as well, right? Thank you very much, and I see you in the next video.